pensioners in England and Wales are being urged to act right now as the government this week decides who and who not is eligible to receive this week's winter fuel payment of up to £300.
Yes, campaigners are concerned that almost 900,000 people who are entitled to pension credit, which will trigger the payment, have not applied. 85-year-old Judith Brown misses out on pension credit as she is over the financial threshold and will now, therefore, not be entitled to winter fuel payment and will be cutting back on her heating as well as using her oven less, as you're going to be missing out on the £300 benefit. OK, the former Pensions Minister, Baroness Roth-Altman, says that this is, quite simply, one of the worst decisions that she's ever seen. Ros, good morning to you. We'll come to you first. This is obviously a crucial qualifying week, as we've said, for the winter fuel payment. Can you explain this extraordinary document which sets out the criteria, which, as I said, you know, as a reasonably clear-thinking individual, I would be defeated by? Can you explain it?
Well, I'm afraid that it is really complicated and there are different bits of income and expenses that will be taken into account when they assess whether you qualify as having a low enough income to get pension credit. It's 240-something questions. It is not straightforward. Many people try and fail to get through it all. There is help available from some of the age charities, but of course the problem we have is that many elderly people are not online, so it's not simple to do, and they try and phone up the DWP and find it's very difficult to get through to actually put in their claim, if they know.
I'm just scrolling through the online version as you speak, and even if you are online and online sort of capable, it's still baffling.
It's baffling.
Why does it have to? Why it doesn't have to be this complicated? Surely.
You would think it doesn't, but of course the government, all government forms are pretty off-putting and pretty difficult to deal with. In this case, the government is very keen to make sure that people don't apply who aren't actually entitled. The problem is, because someone who devises the form and officials who are looking at it, all the terms used in that form are second language to them. They know exactly what they mean. They understand it. They've heard about it. But in the case of pension credit, it's based not just on your income, but if you live with someone else, on the income of that person as well. It's what's called household income. So you've got a situation where this is a very complicated form. You've got elderly people, some of whom can't read because they can't see a form, some of whom don't even know that they are entitled to any extra help. And of course, there are many elderly people for whom they've always grown up believing you must be able to fend for yourselves. Yeah. You don't claim this kind of benefit.
OK,
and in fact,
look, Baroness Altman, I'm just going to pause there because we have with us in the studio somebody who, Judith, yes. 85 years old.
Hi, Judith.
You filled in the form, did you? Or did you have a look at the form and work out yourself that you weren't eligible?
Yes, I did. I looked at the form because it's only £218 a week, sort of probably the cost of a dinner in London for a couple of people. And that's all the money, £218. And if you beyond that, you can't get it. Well, I can't get it because I worked all my life, and as a result, I've got an occupational pension.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're beyond the threshold for pension credit. You're not entitled to pension credit. And as a result, this winter, you will lose your winter fuel allowance.
And because I'm over 85, I lose £300. Even if I'm above the pension credit level, it doesn't mean to say I can lose 300 quid just like that. And it's not just that.
How will it affect you in day-to-day terms? Once the winter arrives and you don't have this extra money, this benefit, in day-to-day terms, what's it going to mean to your life?
Well, it means things like not putting the oven on because it uses such a lot of electricity. It means when you fill the kettle, fill it just this much, because kettles use an enormous amount of... They're probably the most expensive thing in the kitchen.
What about heating?
Heating, it means looking very carefully. It's supposed to be 21 degrees in the living room, but it very well may have to come down.
What to?
And I'm one of the lucky ones because I do get an occupational pension, as I said. But there's 10 million pensioners going to lose out over this. And we're not all Alan Sugar, contrary to somebody who said 1 in 5 pensioners are millionaires. I've been in a room with 30 recently, and not one of us was a millionaire, so I don't know where I'm finding these figures. And we're not just worried about that. We're being picked on by the government, and it's not fair. We're being picked on, and the next thing they're talking about is taking away our council tax single person's rebate. And I'll lose £546 if that happens.
That's not something that has been confirmed by the government. I know that there have been reports that may be in the budget. But of course, we have to wait for the budget for that.
Yes, all I can say is it's like ducks in a row.
Yes.
Bang, bang, bang.
A lot of political commentators are saying that people like you are going to be going through what you've just described, and worse, and shivering this winter in order to pay off the train drivers. Do you see it that way?
I do see that the government has chosen a very easy option. We can't go on strike. And what they could have done, they could have had a go at the energy companies, because they make billions out of us. They could have said to the energy companies, stop the standing charge that you have to pay. Pay for that yourself out of the money you make. And that would have been a great help to everybody. I've been told that next year, by OVO, who are my energy people, that I'm going to be paying an extra 200 quid anyway. And when they talk about, oh, well, you're going to get £460 next year, that's jammed tomorrow, for one thing.
You mean because the government... the government says the pension's going up, so actually pensioners will be OK.
But that's not until the end of the winter, is it?
But we won't be OK because there are 2 pensions. There's the basic state pension, which people get before 2016, and there's the higher pension, which people get after 2016. I was a pensioner before 2016, so I don't get all that money. I'll get about £100 less.
Baroness, you were shaking your head at that point. Can you explain?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Judith, you are absolutely right that this is very complicated, and the fact that people are going to have a few pounds a week extra on the state pension next spring and carry on until April 2026 does not help you pay the winter fuel bill now. And it's the taking away of this money now that makes such a difference. The government has not carried out a proper assessment of how this will affect the poorest pensioners. Many pensioners miss out on pension credit by just a little bit, and they are the poorest of the poor pensioners. Those on pension credit are often much better off than those who have got a small private pension that just takes them over the limit, and they don't get all the other benefits that pension credit will entitle you to.
Just coming back to this form, can I ask you a really cynical question? And maybe it'll get a cynical reply, I don't know. Is it so complicated? Is it so multi-layered and difficult on purpose? Is it actually designed to put pensioners off?
Judith thinks so.
Yes.
Well, if you are charitable and you give them the benefit of the doubt, it could be that because they understand it and because they're responsible for public money and must make sure that only those entitled by law are able to receive it, they feel they have to make it complicated. The problem is, in practice, you're dealing with pensioners, elderly people, people who are just not able to get help always to fill in this form. And it should be, I think, much simpler to qualify. And I also think that the £218 a week limit is much too low. If you've got an income slightly above that, you are still going to be struggling to make ends meet, having to choose, can I afford to put the heating on? And as Judith said, even if you do put the heating on and turn it down or turn it off a lot more, you've still got the standing charge that you're going to need to pay.
Yes.
So the system is simply not working properly for pensioners, and the removal of winter fuel payment is unfortunately going to put hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of the very poorest pensioners at risk this winter, and I don't believe this policy is responsible or sensible to introduce in the way it has been right from this year. If it's next year, there's time to prepare. For this year, there's simply no time to protect the poorest pensioners.
Is Judith right? Are they soft targets?
Yes, they are. They can't go out and protest. Many people in their 80s and 90s are housebound. What can they do? They can't go, as Judith says, they can't go on strike. There's nothing that they can do to protect themselves. They rely on MPs to protect them, on charities to protect them, and also, of course, the great work that is often done by the media, who are trying to highlight when something is so wrong and such an injustice. The trouble is, you need a government that will listen and take notice of it. And unfortunately, at the moment, the government has just ignored all the warnings and all the pleas about, please don't do it now, wait, maybe you should tax it rather than taking it away from everybody. That would save money. There are other things the government could do to make sure that the poorest pensioners, who the government unfortunately says are being protected, but they simply are not, do have a chance to have enough heat this winter for their health, so that they don't overload the NHS again. The money that they are going to save, they will not save, either because the NHS will pay more or because more people will claim benefits and then they won't make the savings anyway.
Baroness Altman, thank you very much indeed. Judith, you've worked all your life, haven't you?
Yes.
And then at the, in your 80s...
Yes, I'm heading for 90. And this is the way my country treats me at the end of my life. I mean, it was a Labour politician. It was Mr. Brown who brought it in, and he did it because we've got a very bad pension compared to other countries. We're 15th in the list of European countries as far as pension goes, down 15th, and it's not good enough.
Judith, thank you for coming in.
You make a compelling case, Judith.
I know that you've knitted a warm blanket, haven't you?
I did, for winter. Can I ask everybody to write to the Prime Minister and your MP and say, please...
Think again.
Think again. Please don't abolish the bus pass, because we rely on that. Please don't take away our single person's tax relief from council tax, because we don't deserve it. We deserve better.
Yeah.
And I never thought a Labour government would do that. Never.
Well, I think a lot of Labour MPs never thought that a Labour government would do that.
Well, why didn't they vote for us?
We saw
then?
by the pardon?
Yeah.
Why didn't they vote
50
for
of
us
them
then?
didn't turn up, did they?
Yeah.
They couldn't
50%.
vote against the government, but they just didn't turn up. That was their form of protest, it seems.
But that's not the same as voting against, is it?
We're going to be talking to Angela Eagle from the government. We'll put your points to her, Judith. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Baroness Altman as well. But I just want to say, I know the form's complicated, but the point we're trying to get across this morning is that regardless of the politics, almost 1 million people don't claim pension credit, and pension credit is the doorway to getting the winter fuel allowance this winter. So please don't be put off by the fact that the form is complicated, because it's absolutely vital that if you are one of the 880,000 people entitled to pension credit and you're not claiming, you need to claim, because the money is there for you. Look, we're all up in arms about the fact that the winter fuel payment's been taken away from 10 million pensioners, but there are almost 1 million who will get it this winter who are not currently going to get it. So, the pension credit application form is complicated. Please try and tackle it.
OK, well said.
Thank you both very much indeed.
Yes, thank you.